And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Around the Bases with Bubba and Mo, episode 43. Big episode here. Good thing we had to wait a day because we had some breaking news dropping on a Wednesday morning. But before we get started, you can follow the podcast on at Around Bases Pod. I am at BDintric, and my co-host, as always, Mo. You can find him on Twitter at Boston_Mo. Mo, how we doing?
I'm doing well. I guess the question is, how are you doing after this news that came out today with Evan Longoria to the Giants? It's kind of a mixed bag of reviews, I think, on Twitter about it. I mean, there's some good things about it because you didn't need a bat. You needed a third baseman. You didn't give up a ton, in my opinion, but I guess let's get right to it and let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, it's a gigantic mixed bag. It depends on what article you read, what Twitter voice you believe in. There are a lot of angles to this trade. I, as a Giants fan, love this move. I love it for the fact that the Giants haven't done much of anything. They've been critiqued all offseason about standing, pat and doing nothing. It's a way to keep the team moving in the right direction without completely blowing it up. Sure, they give up Christian Arroyo, was one of their top prospects, as we've mentioned many times. The prospects aren't great in the Giants system to begin with, so pick your poison there. He's going to be a pretty good hitter, power-wise, who knows. Fits great in a Tampa Bay system. He's a perfect Tampa Bay Ray. He's from the Tampa Bay area. Everything goes great there. They get rid of money in sending Denard Span that way. Another Tampa Bay guy, just had a baby. He can stay at his own house for the season. He's on a one-year deal with a club option. Trading him away basically gives the Giants Longoria, and they're sending some money to the Giants also to offset the cost for 2018. Gets the Giants under that special luxury tax goal they keep wanting to get under. They send over a couple prospect pitchers. Both were in single A. One was in high, I believe the other was in low A this year. Guys with some talent, some good velocity strikeout stuff, but a lot of walking. Everything I've read and looked into, they're pretty much just relief options in the future. That could change, obviously. Like all trades, time will tell. But as a Giants fan, the Longoria aspect is huge. We're talking about a Giants team that was going into the season with Pablo Sandoval at third base, which nobody wanted, not even me. You might have wanted it to just laugh all year. I wanted nothing to do with it. It's a Giants team where Longo had 20 home runs last year, hit 261. Sure, it was like his worst season ever. Those numbers are still better than every Giants third baseman combined, where they combined for 19 home runs last year. That's how bad it was. We'll get to a signing they made yesterday, I believe, with Nick Hundley. Nick Hundley hit 4 home runs in San Francisco last year, the most for any right-handed bat in that ballpark last season. Let that sink in when you bring Evan Longoria to the ballpark. I know he's not great. He's coming off a Gold Glove season, 3 Gold Gloves, 3-time All-Star. Since 2013, he's played at least 156 games. He's had at least 20 home runs. He's had 20 or more homers in 9 of 10 seasons. These are things that don't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about a Giants team that relies on pitching and defense, he brings the defensive aspect and some pop that the Giants aren't used to. We got to remember back when the Giants were winning and Pablo was the third baseman, or even Juan Uribe played third for a while, or even Casey McGee had his little second half fun. These guys were hitting 15 to 20 homers combined, and it wasn't like they were going off the rails. But that little bit of extra help to Posey and company is tremendous. So I absolutely love the move. It really doesn't put a dent in their money for this season. It allows them to go and get at least 1 or 2 more options. We talked to Billy Hamilton before. There's rumors of Jay Bruce. As long as they don't break the bank, I'm okay with that. Like no more than 2-year deal on Bruce, but he would be a nice addition. Maybe trade off a Pence or someone else they've been talking about to free up some more space. Things are moving in the right direction. They're going to stay under the luxury tax as they wanted. I think it's a tremendous move. I was so excited when I heard about it, and very awesome stuff.
I like the move in terms of they had to do something. I think the one question I have is this doesn't make them better than the Nationals. It doesn't make them better than the Dodgers.
No.
Probably doesn't make them better than the Cubs, although that's closer than we think, unless the Cubs go get Darvish, and we'll talk about that in a little bit later. And there's a lot of money. He's going into his 32-year-old season. It's a lot of money for a lot of guys who kind of are underperforming, I guess, or getting older in terms of Cueto, him, Samardzija. Brandon Belt's not old, but hasn't played well with that contract. Brandon Crawford. I mean, there's just a lot of contracts there that really hurt you guys over the next few seasons. So unless Sabian believes in this even year thing, I don't like it long term. I know they had to do something, but I'm not a fan of it long term, especially where you have Bumgarner's free agency year coming up very, very soon. It seems like it comes up faster than I expect it to. So that's the one thing that I'm kind of scared about for you, because they're always one of the top payrolls, so they can pay the contracts, but these contracts, they're not as bad as the Red Sox contracts that are out there right now with Hanley and Sandoval and Rusney Castillo and Alan Craig, but it's not great either. That's just my concern.
Oh yeah, and it's a very valid concern. And the Giants lost like 98 games last year. They're not going to win 98 all of a sudden by getting Longoria. What it could help them do is get back to reality. Like I said, make another move or two. All of a sudden, you're close to a 500 team, maybe a little better. That gets you a wild card. And with the pitching the Giants can make, say Cueto bounces back. You have Bumgarner healthy because he doesn't ride dirt bikes anymore. And maybe Samardzija a 3-pitcher like you need. Well, now you're somewhat of a threat in the postseason. By no means am I saying they're better than any of the top guys in the National League or better than any of the top teams in all of baseball. But we've seen how the Giants have done it year in and year out. Just get them in, and then it gets interesting. And that's really all I'm looking for. And this at least gives some optimism, because I'm telling you, I was talking to a guy on Twitter today that thinks, X, Y, and Z about the Giants are crazy. And he didn't believe the fact that things we're looking really, really dark in the Bay Area until about 8:30 a.m. Pacific time today. People were really ready to just say, screw it, I'm not coming, I'm done. They were not happy with anything going on. This at least gives optimism. Go make another move or two. By no means do I think even a move or two is going to make them elite. I'm just talking make it competitive. You make a couple more moves in the next coming years to juggle things around. You got to remember Helio Ramos, a top pick, maybe by 19 or 20. He gets an impact. This also frees up maybe Steven Duggar, who had a great AFL. He could play center field if they don't want to go get a center fielder. Just put the money into pitching. There's a lot to like. They have the number 2 pick in the draft this year. If they do something smart with that, that could come into play. There's a lot of pieces here. I'm just saying this is one that it really brings optimism to what was a very dark offseason.
Yep, I got you there.
Talking about dark off seasons, the Baltimore Orioles. They basically are shopping their best player in a long time in Manny Machado, and they're not liking any of the offers. Surprise, surprise. No one wants to sell the farm for a 1-year rental. But to make matters worse, they were looking to try to trade Brad Bach for a while. Can't do that now because he has to close since Zach Britton ruptures his Achilles. Training in Los Angeles is out at least 6 months. What's your hot takes on this one?
It's the same hot take that I had way back when after the trade deadline. They didn't trade him to Houston because the owner is one of the worst owners in sports, and I'm sure we'll get an Orioles guy on here and he'll tell us the same thing. Peter Angelos is just terrible. I mean, he blocked that trade, which could have maybe brought back Derek Fisher, and other prospects from Houston. And then they didn't trade Manny Machado. Adam Jones going to be a free agent. So rather than kickstarting that rebuild last summer, Duquette had his hands tied and wasn't able to trade any of them for what they're worth. And now they can't get anything for these players with only 1 year left. And they know Machado's probably going to the Yankees, which scares the shit out of me, but it is what it is. I can't really do anything about it. That's really all it is it's bad luck for them. It's bad luck for Zach Britton being in a free agent year. Hopefully he'll be back by the All-Star break. But they missed the boat on this one. They really did, because they're going to be left out sort of like the Royals, except you didn't win anything. So that's kind of my hot take there. It's really, really bad luck. That's the main part of this story, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's horrific for them because, like you said, he should have been traded already. This shouldn't even be an issue because they weren't going to re-sign him. Now you're going to not trade Machado most likely. Or if you do, you're going to take a bargain deal. And you're screwed now with Brock and Britton and company. This is not looking good for a franchise. When you watch the Red Sox are going to be competitive as always. And the Yankees are just pretty much the best team in the American League, if not baseball, on paper. devastating stuff if you're an Orioles fan. That's all I can say.
Yeah, can't be a good thing to be an Orioles fan right now, maybe ever. I'm not really sure about that, but let's get to some other news before we get to some signings. Dustin Fowler is going to sue the White Sox for his injury. That was a horrific injury running into the right field wall, but he's suing for failing to protect players from an unpadded electrical box that kind of caused him to shatter his leg in his literally first game as a MLB player. Didn't even get in a bat. Not much to say here other than that. What do you got on this one?
Yeah, there's not much to say. I just wanted to bring it to the forefront for people that might have, just kind of looked over this one. It's pretty crazy that a player that goes out hard for a play hurts himself, and he hurts himself on something the stadium apparently does not take care of enough. I don't know what proper padding would have taken place here to make this work. It's almost like the theory of Bryce Harper slipped on the base because it was wet. Theory. It's devastating for the fact that he was one of the top prospects for the Yankees. Went over in the deal with the A's for Sonny Gray, so we'll get to see him back this next year. But yeah, it wiped the kid out. Never got to play the rest of the season. Was crushing it in AAA. I just wanted to bring it up for the fact that it's pretty crazy that a player is going to be suing a Major League Baseball team because their stadium wasn't taken care of properly. And to make matters worse, he's going to Oakland that can't even do proper plumbing. So this should be fun.
Yeah, but plenty of foul ground for him not to run into the wall.
True.
So that's a good thing there. But for him to actually do this, he must have a case. You don't just bring this out of nowhere. Like, there are some cases in not just in sports, but in anything that people will sue just to sue and to have their name out there. I feel like for a baseball player to actually do it for a horrific injury, he has to have some sort of case here.
Yeah, and the real crazy part is it makes me wonder if he might not play again, because in the article that I found looking at this, the last sentence is he's seeking damages for severe and permanent injuries, pain, and suffering, and certain medical costs. It really makes you wonder if it's so bad that he's not going to be that guy anymore.
I think that's just lawyer speak, to be honest with you. Last I heard his rehab was going great, I thought. So I think that's just almost lawyer speak than anything. But if that happened to be the case, whoa, then who knows here? I mean, he could really, I don't know how much he's asking for. I can't imagine it's a ton. But if you're right and he doesn't play anymore, then maybe he's asking for a lot more than we think.
Yeah, something to definitely keep an eye on, because it could definitely set a tone for future deals. Like I mentioned, when Harper slipped on the base, they were talking about changing the bases, this, that, and the other, suing Major League Baseball for that. So it might start opening up all kinds of cans of worms. Like if, say, Stanton gets hit in the face, he never gets to play baseball again, they sue baseball for not having proper equipment, things like that. It could get really, really interesting if this takes place.
Taking insurance out like Max Scherzer did in the Kirk Cousins article today. He took out $750K when he turned down that Tigers offer for $144 million. If he didn't make more than that, he would have got paid $40 million tax free, which I guess a lot of people should do now. It means $750K is a lot of money, but in comparison to what you could make, I would do it if I was a player. I'd tell you that much.
That's better than most Bitcoin deals you can find out there. That's crazy.
That's right.
All right, let's talk about some Miami Marlins action. It just keeps getting better for the folks in Miami. They've already traded Ozuna. They've traded Stanton. Now Christian Yelich, we knew, is not happy, and now JT Realmuto has come out requesting a trade. This is pretty wild. What are your thoughts on this one?
We mentioned last week how I kind of said that Jeter probably has his hands tied because he doesn't have more than probably $20 million invested in this team. But it's his team. It's his job to run the team, and he's run it into the ground currently. I can't wait to see how many people actually go to that game. And it seems like they didn't have a plan. And I think that's where Christian Yelich is coming from. If you have a rebuilding plan, sort of like the White Sox did and the Braves did, and you go to Yelich and you meet with him for however long and show him PowerPoints or show him videos or show him something, potential international free agents that you may sign, then fine. I think Christian Yelich would be on board for that because, currently for his production, he's a bargain. And if they don't have a plan, then they need to trade him. They need to trade Realmuto and just really start over, like completely start over, gut everything, which is what the White Sox did. other than Rodon and other than Abreu. They traded everybody. So that's the real question, because Christian Yelich, and I know the A's were interested, I know a few other teams are interested, he could bring back some decent prospects, which would kickstart that rebuild and really get some depth in that farm system, which they don't have right now. So I think that's the real question. I'm not sure Derek Jeter does have a plan. He really, really screwed up the whole Stanton situation in terms of, I think, not being up front with him. At least that's the reports that we get. And it seems pretty accurate. So that's the question on Jeter's side is he the guy with the plan? And I'm not sure he has one, Bubba.
Yeah, and like we talked about Stanton, he kind of had to trade him. Whoever bought the team was going to have to trade him. But then you got D. Gordon, you got Ozuna. Now you mentioned Yelich should be like a centerpiece of a rebuild. He's that youth, talent, the whole shebang. This should be a guy you're building around. But yeah, at least Yelich kind of stepped back and said, I'm willing to listen to them for a little while, which is a start. Realmuto didn't care about that. He flat out came out and said, this is happening. This is what we're doing. I want out. And he's one of the top catchers in all of baseball. He's super young. So he could bring back a ton if a deal were to be made. But another question on the Marlins, didn't put on the outline, was Jeter held his town hall last night, and Marlins man made a mockery of it, and a lot of disgruntled fans were there.
I saw that.
How do you think that came out overall?
I think Marlins man looks like a clown. Do you know who I am? Okay, buddy, you're the guy that wears orange that Part of My Take makes fun of, but you don't realize they're making fun of you, and then you support the troops, which we all do. So you act like you're above everybody, which it is what it is. But, to come out and say to Jeter, do you know who I am? Get out of here with that, buddy. I mean, but in terms of the town hall, I mean, I'd be pissed if I was a fan down there. Not that there are many fans in Miami, because it's just not it's kind of a front runner town in terms of, their sporting events. They love the U. They love, the Heat, but I mean, no one goes to the Heat games, and if they do, they get there middle of the second quarter. So I'm sure the few of them that there are, they're pissed, and it's rightfully so, because they're paying for the stadium that no one is going to go to.
Yeah. Last thing on this is I'll give Jeter credit for at least sitting there for 90 minutes and fielding questions, because he was doing a lot of things he learned as a Yankee of, we're going to beat around the bush and not give you direct answers. I get all that. But he also at least sat there and took the heat from people, because he admitted that everyone's frustrated and this is what we have to do. And there really isn't a plan in place, which was kind of the worst thing he probably could have said. But the fact he actually did it, I'll give him a little bit of credit for.
Yeah, I guess a little credit. I mean, but everybody does it, so I'm not sure how much you can give him. He didn't go to winter meetings, so I guess it's a step forward for him.
Yep.
Speaking of your old buddy here, Tim Lincecum, he's looking for a comeback, and he looks yoked. I mean, he looks jacked, but he throws 88 miles an hour and is 34 years old. So what do you got on this one?
Well, they said he's throwing harder now, which is a start. I think he could be actually, if he's got his filthy stuff with the low 90s heat, he can make for a very interesting back end piece of a bullpen. Really could. Or if he wants to throw in the 80s and learn how to locate better, he could be a nice fourth or fifth starter. He's going to do a showcase and everything, but he cut his hair. He looks jacked. Everyone's pumped on him. Timmy Lincecum's fun for baseball when he's pitching well. When he's not pitching well, he's fun for DH. That's just your two differences there. I'd be happy if he's half decent, taking Matt Moore's spot in the Giants rotation. Completely fine with that. But it was fun on a slow stretch for Major League Baseball to see Timmy coming out of nowhere. And that picture wasn't just accidentally put on Instagram by Adam Ottavino. There was a lot behind that. So I'm curious to see how it all works out for him. And that's a move that, honestly, as a Giants fan, I'd rather have him than Pablo Sandoval. Let's just put it that way.
Well, maybe he'll join Ottavino in Colorado. That would be wonderful.
That would be good for DFS. Last piece of news here. This is just pure speculation because it's finally happening. Yu Darvish he's starting to meet with teams. The Cubs have been talking to him. The Astros are interested. The Rangers, even though he's having dinners with John Daniels, but it doesn't involve contract talks. Okay, you're telling me you're going to go to dinner with the Rangers owners and not talk about a deal? Okay, sure, whatever you say.
It's probably his neighbor.
But yeah, probably. Just pure fun and speculation here. Where do you think Yu Darvish ends up landing?
Well, so like you said, met with the Cubs, gonna meet with the Astros. I didn't even know about the John Daniels dinner, but I'm sure it was a heck of a ribeye. I wonder if the Twins are still a contender. You would think that this is the perfect move, and it came out too. I mean, it was pretty obvious that he was tipping his pitches in the playoffs and then the World Series, and that's how he got shellacked the entire time. So that came out. So he's got to get rid of that to get back to his old stuff. The Cubs make sense, although if they're going to give all this money to Darvish, are they going to go get Bryce Harper next year too? So that's the tough part about the Cubs. The Astros, I don't know if they need him per se. I mean, I know Verlander's only got a couple years left and Keuchel's a free agent, but I just don't see them signing him. It's just my gut. I really hope Minnesota makes a run for him. I don't know if he'd want to go there, but I really hope they make a run for him because that would make the AL Central so much more interesting than it already is because, you know, they obviously overachieved. They can't jump Cleveland now with what they have because they really have no 4 and 5 starter. I mean, Mejia was okay, but he's really a 5th or 6th starter, as in if someone gets hurt, he can come in and spot start. So they do need a starter for sure. I know, you know, when we had Brendan, is it Warren? It's Warren, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we had him on, he mentioned, you know, either Cobb or maybe Lance Lynn would be more of their cup of tea, but you want to go all out, and Santana's not getting any younger. Then you got Berrios there. You want to go all out, you go get the top guy in the market, and that's Yu Darvish. And I think it would make sense with Mauer's money coming off the books for that, and Mauer and Dozier, because I don't think they're going to re-sign Dozier, in my opinion. So it would make sense for them to go get that starting pitcher to really catapult them and give them a chance in the division.
Yeah, I like that angle of Darvish going to Minnesota. I know they came out saying that's their top priority right now is landing Yu Darvish. So that's another team that could be interesting. How much he wants to go there, who knows? But initially, no one thought he'd want to go to Texas, and he went to Texas. You can never count out the Dodgers. They're always a dark horse in this matter. But I really see him. I see him going to either Texas or Minnesota, actually, because I think the Cubs are still going for Cobb. I don't think they're going to break the bank. They want to stay. They want to stay under that luxury tax as well. They don't want to go crazy. They want to save that money for Mr. Harper. So I'd love to see him go to Minnesota. That'd be a fun one.
And he does live in Dallas still, so it makes perfect sense for him to go back to Texas. So I like that thought too. And that's what we kind of said all along when they traded him, was that it was going to be a Chapman situation where Chapman always wanted to go back to New York when they traded him to the Cubs. And he did that. And I was hoping that would be the situation for Lester too, but the Red Sox botched that whole thing. And I think he would have been open to coming back, but it makes total sense for him to go to one of those two teams. You know, Martin Perez hurt now too. So now they need to go to their quote unquote sixth starting rotation. All right, let's go to some of the hot stove part of this. This first one is an interesting one. Stephen Piscotty traded to the A's, and it's a great thing by the Cardinals. And it sounds like that it was almost the same deal for a couple other places. So they said Ty goes to the runner because his mother has ALS. He's from that area. Now he can go be close to her as she fights that battle, which is a terrible disease, and it's just a great thing. And I think, and I'm pretty sure our guy STL Cup of Joe is all over the part that he can be a good player still. Obviously, there was a lot on his mind with his mother battling it. He had a rough year, but I think we all can agree that he's a lot better than what he was this year. And I'm not saying he's a 30 home run guy. You know, going to Oakland doesn't help you in terms of if he had went to somewhere like an Arizona or a Milwaukee or a Boston or obviously Colorado, but it does help him there. What do you got on this situation?
Yeah, I won't try to be too sappy, but I think this is a big congratulations to the Cardinals on this one. Like, to do something like this, they even said some of the deals prospect-wise may have been better than the ones the A's offered, because the A's offered mediocre guy. Like, there's nothing too special. Maybe they turn into something, but Yair Munoz and Max Schrock are not big-time prospects by any means. And they did a lot of this to help Piscotty out, to be with his mom. In 2016, he had a great year, hit 282 with 29 bombs. Then he found out his mom got sick, and it just kind of went downhill. He hit 235 with 9 homers. He was, I think, up and down between the minors last year, just set career lows all over the place. And like you said, Joe said it best, is he's still very, very talented. He's very, very young. He's 26 years old right now. He hasn't even hit his quote-unquote prime of his career yet. He's going into a ballpark that, yes, it's going to take away some of his offense, but we've seen guys like Chris Davis, given his power is ridiculous. But you put him in a lineup with like Chris Davis and Olsen and Chapman and all those guys, there's going to be protection there to get him pitches to hit. He can even be like a top of the order bat in that lineup. Just get on base. It'd be productive. And he's cheap. He fits. He's a perfect Oakland A. Like the looks, the price, the position, like everything about the guy. He's a perfect Oakland A. I think it's a great move for both sides. I think it's great he's going to be with his mother because, like you said, ALS is just – it is crappy. Outside of cancer and maybe nothing else, ALS is really one of the bad ones out there. So this is a great move, just a great baseball story to be had, and it'll be really interesting to see how he takes his time in Oakland. Yeah,
I completely agree. I mean, it's just a great story for them. They obviously had to get rid of an outfielder, and Piscotty seemed to be the right one after they acquired Ozuna. So now you got Ozuna, you got Grichuk, and you got Fowler in the outfield there. So it made complete sense for them to trade him somewhere, but for them to do what they did and trade him to Oakland and maybe take slightly less. I mean, I don't think he was going to bring, a top 10 prospect in an organization for the most part, but it's just a great move for them.
Yeah. Moving on to the Nationals. Most of last year, we talked about their bullpen problems. They made all those trades, and one of the trades was Brandon Kinsler coming over from Minnesota. Well, they re-signed him to a pretty club-friendly deal, coming out to could reach up to $16 million. It guarantees him $10 million over 2 years. Pretty solid stuff for a decent arm. Nothing spectacular, but a decent arm. What are your thoughts on the 33-year-old Kinsler?
Yeah, no-brainer signing for them. I mean, he's going to be their seventh-inning guy. He's a ground ball guy. The Nats D is – sort of middle of the pack, so that they certainly need to make some strides there to make sure he's the top pitcher that he possibly can be. He doesn't have overpowering stuff. Obviously, his swing and strike percentage was as low as it's been in his career at 5.6%. So they're going to make contact on him. I think they make contact percentage like 92%. So there's going to be balls in play, and that's the real key for him is. When he comes in the seventh, coming in with guys on base, the ball's going to be put in play. You're not going to bring him in to get a strikeout there. So that's the real key with him. He's had 2 good seasons to get this contract, and it doesn't break the bank, as you said. So it makes sense for him to pitch, right before Madison and Doolittle.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Let's go back to the Cardinals. They finally made some moves to make our buddy Joe and the rest of Cardinals fans happy. They traded for Marcell Ozuna. I think we talked about Luke Gregerson. I mean, that's a pretty non, big signing, even though I think it could be fine for them. So Marcell Ozuna, it's another Marlin that's traded. He was the one that's actually said that he would stay. He likes it down there. I mean, who doesn't like it in Miami? But this is a big get for the Cardinals to really improve their offense. What do you got on this one?
Yeah, this is huge. Ozuna is one of the more talented young hitters in all of baseball. Took that next step, you could say, last year. He's 27 years old. He's cheap. Has another year of arbitration eligibility with him. This is Cardinal 101 here. 312 average, 37 bombs last year. Now, are all these numbers repeatable? Probably not to like a crazy extent, but I've always thought he'd be a good average hitter, good doubles with homer hitter. If he can even get you 30 homers, this is a big year for him. They didn't give up a ton. Sandy Alcantara is a name everybody talks about. They gave up Magneris Sierra or something like Magneris Sierra, whatever his name is. Speedy outfielder, but nothing too extreme. And a couple young arms, Zach Gallen. I talked to another Matt Thompson from FWFB who covers prospects. He's a Cardinals fan. He was saying Gallen's a good-looking 22-year-old. He was the Cardinals' 13th best prospect. He could be like a 4th or 5th starter if he had to start out the year with him right now. Because I was looking at it thinking he's pretty decent. I didn't understand why everyone was just completely trashing the return. But they got their lefty in Castano, who hasn't really been past single A. But a lot of these pieces, like most deals for them so far, are guys that are barely MLB ready or not even there yet. But 3 more arms. They're stockpiling young arms. I like the philosophy because, I believe Craig Mish said it when we talked to him last week, is if, they get this big stockpile and say they get like 12 young arms and 1 or 2 hits, that's tremendous this day and age. I know it sounds bad because of what you're trading off, but in the long term of what they're doing, this Gallon kid and Alcantara, if he controls things, could be really good. And then Sierra, to me, he's nothing more than like a Gerard Dyson type, but you never know. He made a jump from like single A to the bigs this year. So it'll be interesting on the Miami side, but more importantly, Cardinals, it's a no-brainer home run for them. This is a great move. It puts them right next to the Cubs in that NL Central, and they don't want to miss the playoffs for a 3rd straight year, and I don't think they're going to now.
Yeah, I love that division now, especially now there's sort of 3 teams battling out, and then as I mentioned all the time, the boring Pittsburgh team. And then even the Reds have a couple of young guys. Hopefully they bring Nick Senzel up, very quick if he doesn't make it on opening day. So they'll be. I mean, their offense is great. They just need to develop that pitching. So that it's a nice division to watch. I mean, I think it's really a 3-team race. If the Brewers can go get a starter and their bats continue to kind of grow a little bit with their young talent. So I like this move a lot for the Cardinals because that offense was terrible last season, just terrible.
Yeah, and they're going to the Astros. They're defending World Series champions. As we all know, massive problems in the bullpen in the postseason. They're trying to rectify that and rectify it quickly. They pick up Joe Smith, 2 years, $15 million. Not a bad move there. And they went and got Hector Rondon from free agent, formerly from the Cubs, 2 years, $8.5 million. So picked up a couple right-handed arms. Didn't break the bank by any means, in my opinion. Some interesting moves. What are your thoughts on this?
I love these moves. Joe Smith has been so underrated. Other than his 2016, he's been very, very good. So I just think he's been so underrated. He's been everywhere now. I mean, he's his wife Allie LaForce on CBS. She's wonderful, and so they've been everywhere. I think he's from Cleveland, so I'm a little surprised they didn't come back and after him. But he's been really good. I mean, last year, he had if I get it back up here, between the 2 teams. And I don't have it up anymore. But anyways, I think he had like a 3.3 ERA and like a 2.1 FIP, which is really, really good. And that was in Toronto and that was in Cleveland. And he was pitching in, big time situations when he did go to Cleveland. Again, another sort of ground ball pitcher, is about 50% ground ball. He's gotten his walks down. His strikeouts were way up last year. So that I like that. Rondon has really, really gone downhill, and the Cubs non-tendered him, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, when he was the closer for the Cubs, I mean, 2014, really, really good. Same with 15, that was probably even better. And then he started to get slightly worse, and that's when they made the move to Chapman, when they traded for him in the World Series year. And then last year, was his worst year. I mean, other than his rookie year, the 4.24 ERA, and even that's not terrible. So I like both these moves. Not a lot of money there. Short deals in case they don't work out. I like it to make that bullpen very, very deep.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal. The Joe Smith part you mentioned, the guy before he kind of got hurt when he was with the Angels was outstanding. I thought he was going to be the future closer of the Angels. 15 saves in 2014. He's been a back-end spot save guy most of his career. Been very, very good there. Like you mentioned, the ground ball stuff is great. Combined with the Blue Jays, or his 2 teams, Blue Jays and the Indians, 3.33 ERA, like you're saying, 72% ground ball rate, or left on base rate is just insane. So really good stuff there. And then Hector Rondon, like you said, he kind of fell apart towards the end. But even last year in a limited role, 7 innings, he had a K per 9 of close to 11. ERA is still 4.24, but it seemed like once they took him out of the closer's role, he just couldn't figure it out. So maybe change of scenery would be good for him. But these are 2 talented arms that could definitely have an impact for an Astros team that we expect to be pretty darn good.
Yeah, completely agree. Let's go to the Padres. They acquired Freddie Galvis, which opens up shortstop for J.P. Crawford. Makes complete sense in terms of the Phillies, and they traded him for minor league right-hander Aniel De Los Santos. I think I nailed that one. A lot of guys are kind of mixed on him. They think that the Phillies might have, gotten one over on AJ Preller, the GM of the Padres, and maybe they found a small gem. So we'll see what happens with that guy. But Freddie Galvis is going to be a free agent after the season, setting up, the kind of bridge year to Fernando Tatis Jr., who, as you know, is for Fernando Tatis Sr.'s son, as John Heyman told us. So what do you got on this trade?
Yeah, if it wasn't for John Heyman, I think we'd all be lost in baseball, especially, family trees would be ridiculous. I think this trade is another really good move by the Padres. Like, they are building something that if the Giants don't make the moves that they're making and make them correctly, and I'm not saying this was one, but if they don't make a few more, the Padres are going to be making the Giants the worst team in the West here in a couple more years. They're going to be very, very good. Freddie Galvis, he's only 28. He's very talented. He had a very good year last year, plays pretty decent defense, good top of the order bat, nothing insane, but he's got a little bit of pop. Like you said, great just transition to a talented player in Tatis. And Galvis can play all three infield spots, second, third, and short. So, if Tatis is ready earlier or whatever, you can move him around, trade him at the deadline to get more prospects. A lot to love here. Not breaking the bank by any means. $7.4 million for a middle infielder, top of the order bat in this era. That's cheap. I'm not by any means saying Galvis is like an all-star, but what you're getting on a Padres team is outstanding. And I agree. I heard a ton of mixed reactions on this Aniel De Los Santos guy, and I am really curious to see how he develops. Extremely young, like you said, but they say the sky's the limit on this kid, so I'm curious. But the very, very first thing you said about this trade, which is phenomenal now, is J.P. Crawford can actually go play shortstop instead of playing third base or second base or wherever the heck they had him playing most days. Pretty sure it's third base. It'll be great to have him there. And also, by moving him to short, Scott Kingery time is ready to come to play. So you get that 1-2 punch in Philadelphia up the middle that you're going to enjoy for years to come, most likely. So I think it's a phenomenal trade.
I want Kingery up, but we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I know they have Hernandez still, and then they have to figure out Maikel Franco. I saw Gabe Kapler on MLB Network kind of saying, I went and talked to Maikel Franco. He's got a tremendous power, tremendous talent, tremendous potential. I see a lot of things here. I can't wait to talk about Gabe Kapler this season. I know I'm getting off on a tangent here about the Phillies, but I can't wait to talk about him because I feel like he's going to say a lot of things that rub people the wrong way and make him sound like he's exactly what they've said coming out of the Dodgers organization, where it's his way or the highway, and he thinks he knows everything. So, I can't wait to talk about this guy and hear some of his quotes, this season on anything in baseball.
Were you referring to his interview on like MLB Tonight or whatever at the winter meetings?
Yeah.
Or what? Oh yeah, that was phenomenal. I remember I liked the interview. I'm a Kapler guy, I think, just by his attitude, but I know how you're saying he's going to rub people the wrong way. But like that interview, I couldn't tell if he was trying to be a bro or a really smart guy that is a bro. Just couldn't.
Yeah.
Everything that came out of his mouth was just so all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what kind of take I have on him. It's kind of tough to say. Like, it seems like he's going to want to be all these guys' friends, and like this is the way we should do it. Eat some vegetables and work out. Like, I feel like he's. I don't know how to describe him. Every time I see him, I think of PC Principal from South Park, and I just look at it and I just kind of laugh. So I'm excited but nervous to see what he says during the season, because it's some of the reports coming out of Philly, and these Philly people.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the reports coming out of there should be hilarious if they let it get out, which if they don't progress like they're supposed to, it will come out.
Yeah, it'll get fun. Speaking of fun, if you're a Los Angeles Angels fan, you're having a blast. Absolute blast. Outside of
Anaheim.
The Yankees, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
I thought you don't call them Los Angeles.
I wrote it down wrong. The Anaheim Angels. They're having a blast. We talked last week trading for Ian Kinsler. They've obviously got Ohtani. They're just doing everything they could possibly do to make Mike Trout happy. And they made a really sneaky nice move by picking up Zach Cozart to a 3-year deal, $38 million. Not breaking the bank per se. He's going to be able to play third base, which I think is a very nice move. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, the unfortunate thing for Cozart is, number one, he had a career year. And I don't think people were going to be fooled by that. And number two, nobody needed shortstops. So that's why when we did our free agent episode, I thought he was going back to the Reds, because there's really nowhere for him to go in terms of shortstop unless a couple moves were made. I mean, obviously Miami probably needs a shortstop, but they're not paying for anybody now. One thing I take away from this, and I know Fangraphs came right out with the article, when I went and looked at him and Andrelton Simmons on that left side is going to be stupid. It's going to be like a Dyson vacuum. It's just going to be every ball that goes in between them is going to be amazing to watch, because he'll be diving. Andrelton's already amazing in terms of defensively. We knew that, and he had a coming out season in terms of, with his bat. The one thing I looked when I was kind of looking at this and looking at Cozart, whatever happened to him from 2010 when he was in AAA? He had 17 bombs and 30 steals, and then all of a sudden he just stopped stealing bases. Like that was one thing I took away in terms of fantasy. I mean, I know it was 7 years ago, but like he literally dropped from 30 to 9 and then didn't steal at all. And the one thing I take away from this that is going to help him, obviously, at a career high ISO, his BABIP was way up there too, so that could come back a little bit. But his walk rate was way up, 12.2% compared to 7% the year before, and that's huge for him. I mean, if he can get on base, I don't know where they're going to bat him. I haven't even looked at roster resource to see. I mean, I can check it real quick, but I feel like it's got to be 2, right?
That'd be my guess. I'll check while you keep talking.
Yeah, no, I kind of opened it up. I'll wait for it to load. But yeah, I mean, if he can continue that walk rate and get on base in different ways, I don't know. And yeah, they have him. Where they have him 6 right now behind Calhoun, and they have Trout 2. So yeah, maybe 6 is right, because you go Kinsler, Trout, Upton, Pujols, Calhoun, Cozart, Simmons. Compared to what they had last year, that lineup is awesome. I mean, I think it was beginning of the season, we both laughed at an article that said that they could win 85 games, and it was pretty damn close. So this move is a good move for them. It's only 3 years. They didn't break the bank. The guy's 32, so he's, they only get him for his 33, 34, and 35 season. I don't think we're talking about, a season like last season. I just don't see him hitting 20 homers again, especially in that ballpark. He gets he's out of Great American Ballpark, which is a bandbox at times. So he goes to Angels Stadium, not going to hit 20 homers probably, but I still think he could get close to around 285. That OBP was 80 points higher than it was the year before. So if he can continue that walk percentage, like I mentioned, and, he's going to get pitches to hit, because they're not going to pitch to Trout, and they're probably going to pitch to Pujols, which is crazy to think about now, but he's going to get pitches to hit. He's got Simmons behind him, and I'm rambling now, but it's a really, really good move for the Angels for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a great move. If I could play Mike Scioscia, which I don't want to ever play Mike Scioscia, but if I can play the Anaheim Angels manager, I'd put Cozart first, just move everybody down a spot, and maybe put Andrelton Simmons at the bottom to the back-to-back leadoff theory. But with Cozart, he's not going to hit the bombs as often as you're saying, but you put that on base in front of Kinsler and Trout and Upton, and roster resource doesn't even have Ohtani in the lineup right now. He's going to be a spot starter. So this lineup is disgustingly good, sneaky good. The Angels and Astros might have some fun this year. I think it's a great move defensively, like you said, for a team that's pitching is not great. This is just knocked it out of the park again. And rumors are they're still not done yet. They might go get another pitcher. So the Angels, man, they literally are at the table going all in, and you have to love it with Trout for another year or 2.
Yeah, he has to stay healthy too. He's had at least each season, probably other than 2013 and maybe 2014, he has missed a chunk of games, 25 plus games. Last couple seasons it's been about 40, and then in 2015 he missed most of the season. So there's that whole injury thing too. But yeah, I think the on base part, I mean, when you're 385 and then your career on base before that was roughly just over 300, maybe just below. There's some regression there, obviously, especially when he was in a contract year. But I think it was a no-brainer for the Angels because that third base position, I mean, it was Yuniel Escobar. And although his average was pretty good, he didn't really do much else.
Yeah.
The Rockies re-signed Jake McGee, and they signed Brian Shaw, especially when they're losing Greg Holland. I wonder if Ottavino's the closer now, or is it Jake McGee? He had a rough season last season in Colorado. What do you got on these signings?
The McGee one surprises the heck out of me. First off, they're still rumored to be bringing Holland back, which surprised. I think he went to test the market and realized, oh, crap, no one's going to pay me what I wanted. But so he's rumored to be coming back. I've always been a fan of Ottavino closing. I would love that, but obviously coming back from injury, we'll see. The Jake McGee part, overall numbers, horrific. His home road splits are insane. 4.73 at home, 2.64 on the road. He defines Coors Field home roads. He actually pitched better versus righties than lefties last year. So it doesn't really have a hand in this split, but that home road is pretty telling. And that's why I thought he might want to get the heck out of town, but maybe no one wanted to get him, but he does have good stuff. On the Brian Shaw front, there's a lot to like about Brian Shaw. Really good stuff with the Indians for years. He could spot save, kind of like a Joe Smith guy. I believe good sinker stuff, if I remember correctly, low ERAs. Decent strikeout stuff, but not great. But he makes a very good, 7th, 8th inning arm. And Coors, as I know from watching way too many Rockies games, you flush through your bullpen quite a bit back there, doing a lot of matchups because it's literally one swing by anybody in the lineup there. So Brian Shaw could be a very nice piece in the back of for a team that just missed out on not getting a wild, or they wouldn't have got the West, but making a good run in the playoffs. Let's put it that way. So it's really solid. You need pitching and pitching and pitching, and if you're not going to get it from the front end, make a really solid bullpen, and that's what the Rockies are doing.
Yeah, and I actually misspoke. What I meant to say was he actually didn't have too terrible of a season. It was more of the second half that was really, really bad. It was not good. But his overall season was 3.61 and 2.93, and his 2016 season was the bad one at 4.73 and 5.29. So he definitely did improve. I mean, the homers were down. I think he was due to improve anyway because the homers were as high as they've been in 3 or 4 years, and then his BABIP was like 3.38. So he was due to have a better season last season. I just hope that the second half doesn't come through into the 2018 season for him.
Yeah, let's talk Philadelphia Phillies. We already mentioned the Freddie Galvis trade. They were busy. Outside of that, they made 3 signings. We'll start with the big one, Carlos Santana. This kind of came out of nowhere to me. Maybe not to you. I don't know. But we speculated a lot of places not named Philadelphia for the big man. Gets 3 years, $60 million, $10 million signing bonus. He's getting paid $15, $17, $17.5 with a $500,000 buyout in his option year. Getting paid well. Makes you wonder what the thoughts are of Rhys Hoskins in Philadelphia between the management. But I think he's a great play for the Phillies, just kind of a really out of nowhere spot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we didn't have him there because we thought they were rebuilding. We thought that Rhys Hoskins was going to play first base full time, sort of like Bellinger is going to do it in LA now that they've gotten rid of Gonzalez, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think that's the reason we didn't have him there. I personally like the signing. I know a few people were confused about it, and I think a lot of people look at Carlos Santana and aren't really. I mean, he used to be a top prospect, and he was pretty good for what he does. I mean, he has a hell of an eye at when he's at bat. He's very patient, and he gets on base a ton, and the power is there, and that ballpark can help him as well. So I like the deal, and it's 3-year deal, right? So I just want to let you know who's a free agent in 3 years. That would be Mr. Mike Trout, and he's a Philadelphia guy, loves the Eagles, always at the Eagles games. I think from New Jersey, but he's a Philadelphia fan. So, this contract's up then they can go give Trout $40 million, take the 20 of that and then another 20, go give him $40 million. That's the one thing I see here with Santana. I actually wanted Santana with the Red Sox because I think he would have been, I think the power is there. I mean, it's not a Giancarlo move, but it's a short-term move that isn't going to kill you. It's not going to kill you at all. So I wanted him with the Red Sox, but obviously it didn't happen. Neshek and Hunter, you know what I feel about Neshek. Good move there. Old guy. We talked about him last week. He obviously likes Philadelphia. I thought he'd sign somewhere else to maybe win before his career's over. Tommy Hunter, that's a sneaky good move. I mean, he was pretty good last year for the Rays. 61 appearances, 2.61 ERA with a 3.07 FIP. So he was a pretty good move there by them. I mean, 31 years old, all the talent in the world, throws hard. And that bullpen, now that they signed him, really sneaky, really sneaky good. Adam Morgan, the DFS starter that everyone rostered against and stacked against, had a good year in the second half as a bullpen guy. They're only lefty in that bullpen. So I like we've always liked what the Phillies are doing, and it seems like they're doing it faster than we expected, and ready for that big free agent year next year when everyone's kind of available.
Yeah, I really like the Carlos Santana move. His bat in that ballpark is going to be disgusting. Like he's already a guy that's Mr. Consistent. 231 average in 14 and 15, 259, 259. But you look at the power. You have 34 homers and 16, 23 back last year. He could easily be a 30 homer guy in my opinion if he gets regular at bats like he should. He's played 152 plus games every year since 2013. This guy's impressive, and he's got a decent glove at first. It's not like bad. It's pretty good. So I like this move a ton. And like you said, it really makes things interesting on the Mike Trout front where everybody wants him there. Bullpen, that bullpen is just money for a team with a pretty decent starting staff, really, and maybe it needs a couple more tweaks there, but they're rebuilding, like you keep saying. But Hector Neris closing. You got Hunter, Neshek, Morgan, Ramos, Leiter, Garcia, a couple young guys for the early innings. A lot to like there. I like what the Phillies are doing. But question to you, what does this mean for Rhys Hoskins? Because right now you have Hoskins in left field, you got Odubel in center, you got Nick Williams in right. That means Alvarez goes to the bench, and he is a very, very good ball player. Is he maybe a platoon guy now with Nick Williams, or what are we seeing with Hoskins?
Yeah, I don't think you're seeing anything with Hoskins. I think it was more of, they played him in left field, and I'm not sure he was very good in left field per se, but I think they saw it as he can play it and he'll be serviceable, so they can get better there. Because I think, Nick Williams and Alfair will definitely be a lefty-righty platoon. That's an interesting one. They can't be high on one of them or both of them if that's the case, because I thought outfield was sort of a strength for them, at least, in terms of age and potential, for sure. I don't think it means anything to Hoskins. I just think that they said we can go get Carlos Santana, and that'll improve this team now. It'll give us a veteran presence because literally every player is under 27 years old on that before they made this move, and Santana almost 32 years old, so it'll give him a nice veteran presence right in the middle of that order. It'll take some weight off of Hoskins' shoulders that he has to hit, all the homers there. And I wonder if Santana can help Mike Franco at the plate a little bit with some plate discipline. I just wonder if he can help him there. The one question I have to you, and it just kind of popped in my head. We've been talking about the Phillies for a long time. They didn't win at the beginning of the year. They got better as the year went on, and we like what they're doing in terms of their rebuild. With the Marlins only going to win 31 games-ish, the Braves are a mess. They're getting better, but they're still kind of a mess. The Mets are obviously a mess. I think if they stay healthy, if Thor stays healthy and the rest of them somehow stay healthy with Ray Ramirez gone, they may be better. And then there's the juggernaut as in the Nationals. Can the Phillies, if they somehow find a starter with that dominant bullpen, can they compete for a wild card?
Oh, yeah. To be a wild card team in this era in baseball, you just got to be around 500, maybe a couple games better. And this Phillies team, especially offensively, they're going to put up runs. This lineup, when you have Cesar Hernandez, who's a very, very good young ball player. As I mentioned, Odubel, you got Santana, Hoskins, Williams, Franco, who I expect not to be as bad. Yeah, J.P. Crawford, Alfaro catching is a stud. You're going to get Kingery soon. The bench is loaded. Like, for crying out loud, you got Tommy Joseph coming off the bench. I know he's not a big average guy, but pop for days. These guys are going to put up runs, and you still have Nola. Eichhoff's decent. Velasquez, if he stays healthy. Pavetta and Lively, yeah, maybe not. But, yeah, get another starter in there. 500 is not out of the question in my mind. A lot of it will depend on the Mets' health with that starting rotation, but that Phillies offense, it's going to – the Nationals are the juggernaut, as you said. But to me, the Phillies are the second-best team in the AL East at this moment. A lot can change when we do our previews in March. But, yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think with the Giants making moves, the Padres are still rebuilding. They're still the fifth best team in that division. The rest of the teams are going to beat up on each other. Sort of the same with the Central, where the top 3 teams are going to beat up on each other, and they get to play Miami 19 times, and the Braves 19 times, and the Mets 19 times, and
That's
then
big.
somehow win 7-8 games against the Nationals. You never know here, and I don't know if 500 will get them a wild card. I think it's been a little bit better lately in the last few seasons. I'll have to kind of fact check myself on that one. With the Diamondbacks, I think won 93 last year, and then the Rockies won like 89. So I think it's a little bit better than 500. I think you got to get to 86, 87. Some years it might be 500, but I think most years it's been around 86, 87. But hey, with that bullpen, like I said, that's the new wave in baseball. You got a good bullpen, you can get anywhere because you're gonna if you get to that bullpen in the 7th of the lead, boom, done. See you later.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It should be fun.
Your guy and your team made a move. They traded Matt Moore to the Rangers. Seems like they're going to be happy with the couple of young starters that you have there. They did pick up his option in the season. It's not a bad option, but Matt Moore in that ballpark, whoa, baby. Let's fire up the DFS stacks. Let's get it going. What do you got on this deal?
And this is another one of those quiet. I didn't even know about this for like 3 days after it happened because I was busy at holiday parties and stuff. This is a great move by Bobby Evans. He just dumped $9 million out of nowhere. I absolutely love it. Frees up more cash for their goal. It is a good young arm who I don't expect to be as bad, but it's still Matt Moore. And now he's in that ballpark. $9 million this year, $10 million option next year. So it's very cheap. I get the angle the Rangers are looking at. I get it completely. That's why when we started talking about should the Giants pick up his option, I was all for it. The price makes sense. But, man, Cole Hamels, Matt Moore, Mike Minor, Doug Fister, Matt Bush. You need to pay Yu Darvish whatever his asking price is right now. That's the bottom line.
Yep. If you think you can win, you got to do it. You certainly do.
Yeah, because that is atrocious. All right, I got a quick one here. The Mets, oh, man, they're going to be so bad this year. But at least they tried to do something. They went, since they talked about doing those 6-man rotations and all that good stuff, they went and signed Anthony Swarzak. $1 deal. Anything that stands out to you here?
The one thing that stands out for me was I loved Swarzak last season, had a career year. I mean, 14% swing strike rate. That is tremendous. And he got up to 94 miles an hour, 2.33 ERA. The one thing that hits me here is Mickey Callaway did say it might be some sort of closer by committee. So this guy could get the chance to win that closing job or at least get a few saves here and there with what he did last year. Can he build off of it? I'm not sure, but I mean, that swing strike rate is very, very good. Very good.
Yeah, it's a interesting move for the Mets because they just need so much help. They're looking to sign Adrian Gonzalez for crying out loud.
Oh, please put him in New York. That would be just glorious. Couldn't handle Boston. Let's put him in New York. Twins signed Fernando Rodney. They got their closer, we think. Do you think that he's going to close for them? I mean, I know a lot of people say that he wasn't very good last year. He wasn't good in April and beginning of May, and then he was awesome. So what do you got on this one?
Yeah, you just nailed it. He was very good, actually, last year. When everybody wanted his head on a spike, your boy Lovello stuck with him, and then that bow and arrow was popping all over the place. And I think he is going to be the closer. They wanted to roll in there with, I think, Hildenbrand or whatever, who's really never been the go-to guy. Now he can set up. It's still a very sketchy bullpen in Minnesota. You got Hildenbrand, Taylor Rogers, Ryan Presley, Allen, Busenitz, Gabriel Moya, Tyler Kenley. Any of those names ring a bell to you, Mo?
Are they football players?
Yes, that's my point. So I think this is a tremendous move. Really good veteran arm in a better ballpark than Arizona to pitch, and a lot of those fly balls are going to stay in the yard. 1 year, $6 million. Like, really? That's all you're going to get paid to be a closer in baseball right now? That's outstanding. This is a steal.
Fernando Rodney is his name. He's crazy. He's out there. He's up and down. There's no consistency with Fernando Rodney. I think the one thing that this says here, unless they go get a closer, is Archie Bradley is your closer in Arizona, which is currently your closer, which is very, very interesting and kind of fun to watch.
I like that a lot. I thought he was the guy that should have stepped in last year. I think it's a great move. It'll actually save his bullets for more of his career. But for the Twins, who we've talked about it being right there on the cusp, this is a phenomenal no-risk move, in my opinion. Like, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I would have rather Neshek and Tommy Hunter, like the Phillies did, something like that, or this next guy that you're talking about. But yeah, most definitely. The Cubs, they continue to bolster their pitching staff via bullpen or starter. This time, the bullpen, they picked up one of the guys you like. You love Neshek, and we also like a little Steve Cishek. What's your thoughts here? Cishek. It's fun to say. Okay. I like Cishek a lot. I really do. He closed for the Marlins and was very good for them from 2012 to 2014. And then got traded to a couple different places. The Mariners, he closed for them for a little bit and was, up and down. But he was, 2.81 ERA, 3.57 in 2016. Last year, again, very good, only 44 innings, 49 appearances, 2.01 ERA, 3.34 FIP. So he's it's a good depth move for the Cubs. A lot of teams just going and signing a bunch of bullpen guys. They'll probably slide in there right behind, Morrow, Edwards Jr. and Strop, and maybe right with Wilson there. But that bullpen, all of a sudden, we were real concerned about it. And I'm still concerned about the whole Brandon Morrow thing and staying healthy for a full season, especially with, his manager, the way he uses his closers and how much faith he has in the rest of his bullpen come crunch time in the end of the season and in playoffs. So I like this move, makes them deep. He's be the fourth or fifth guy. And it's a good fourth or fifth guy to have.
Yeah, for a team that the bullpen stood out in a big way in the postseason, this is a no-brainer again. Just makes Theo look like Theo and just makes that team much, much stronger.
Yeah, so a lot of big names in this next deal. And two, storied franchises in terms of the Braves with their run in the 90s and the Dodgers with what they're doing now and what they did in the 80s. The Dodgers went and traded Adrian Gonzalez, Scott Kazmir, McCarthy, Culberson for Matt Kemp. The Braves have already cut Agon, who was a clown, by the way, in the postseason, just not coming. I believe that was the whole story. He didn't come to the playoffs really at all to support his teammates. I've always, what I think of that guy. They already cut him. Sounds like the Dodgers are going to do the same for Matt Kemp. Really just a salary dump trade. What do you got on this one?
This is a great trade in 2012. I was a big fan of this move in 2012. But, this is the definition, if you look in Webster's dictionary, as salary dump. The Atlanta Braves, let's just put it this way, as much as I have loved their rebuild, and I love how this move opens up a spot for Ronald Acuna to start every day, and their lineup actually looks pretty decent looking at it right now for the stage of their rebuild, and they get McCarthy and maybe Kazmir if he's healthy to help with Folty, Newcomb, and Teheran until some of those young arms are healthy. It's actually a decent move for them, especially since most of these guys are like one-year deals they can get rid of. I hate them with a passion because they just helped the Dodgers out so much, so much in saving money for the future. This just is a gut shot. So I'm not a fan of this at all. The Adrian Gonzalez contract, he needed to sit there and bug Bellinger for a couple of years. He needed to be there and just soak up money for no reason. That's what needed to happen. But to a baseball extent, this is a great move for both sides in the long run. It definitely helps the Dodgers out more. But the most important part, Ronald Acuna really has Acuna, as Welsh taught us, he has no one stopping him now from starting opening day, and that is outstanding.
Yeah, really outstanding. And I think the Dodgers also get under the luxury tax. So that's good for you too. And we all know that Magic Johnson and his whole team, they don't care about paying the luxury tax. The Dodgers get rid of that. They get rid of Aegon and his poor attitude. What a clown that guy is. Also, what I forgot about is I believe Carl Crawford's deal is done.
Yeah.
So they are just clearing cap to make it run on one of those big guys next year, which will be hilarious for you. That's going to be hilarious.
It'll probably be for like 2 of them.
Yeah, they're going to sign everybody. They're just going to move Justin Turner to somewhere and then sign Donaldson, sign everybody.
It's literally going to be the Yankees versus the Dodgers, and everybody else gets to watch.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Both get to cry, so don't just blame it on. Don't just point this direction. All right. Speaking of the Yankees, they re-signed the big man, CC Sabathia. This is the move I thought they should have done. It's outstanding. 1 year, $10 million. He was really, really good this last year. Perfect 5th starter, even 6th starter if they go 6-man rotation. I love this move. It's pretty simple.
I love it too. I hate the Yankees. Love this move. Not much to say here. He'll pretty much have like the Tim Wakefield, where as long as he somewhat performs, then he'll have his like they literally, the Red Sox had with Tim Wakefield, a rolling $4 million deal that if he still wanted to play and he still was effective, it wasn't on paper, but they could re-sign him. And that's probably what this is going to be with CC Sabathia, as long as he still can pitch to somewhat of his ability now. It's just going to keep going year after year just to fill out that rotation.
Yeah, that's pretty solid stuff.
Brewers sign Giovanni Gallardo. Don't say that fast. Nothing here, Bubba. What do you got?
It's just a simple move for the Brew crew, former Brewer, to make it even, I guess, slightly interesting. I'm not a fan of it because he can get destroyed in this park, but I guess he brings a veteran piece to a rotation. Not having Jimmy Nelson really, really sucks for baseball and for the Brew crew. But you put him with Chase Anderson. They also signed Jhoulys Chacín today, so we didn't put that on the outline, but they locked him into a 2-year, $8 million deal. So when you look at roster resources right now, you have Chase Anderson, Zach Davies, Gallardo, Junior Guerra, and Brandon Woodruff. They haven't even put Chacín on there yet. I'm guessing you take Woodruff's spot. That rotation does not scare me the way their offense scares me. So I was hoping they go get Arrieta or a Cobb or a Lynn or something like that. Maybe they still will.
Still possible, yeah.
Maybe they still will, but this doesn't do much for me.
Yep, that's all I got.
All right, one that should do a ton to you. This is your boy. This is the guy. I'm not going to take any steam away. I'll add to it when you're done. But Mitchie Two Bags is back in Boston. He's coming home, Mo.
Mitchie 2 years, baby. Mitchie 2 years. If we could do, down the road, probably our production value, we'll add sounds, we'll add whatever. If we could add a fireworks sound, that would be wonderful here. Fireworks are illegal in Massachusetts, or else I would have lit some after this signing, because Davey Deals has finally got off his ass and done something. And what this tells you is they may do nothing. They may do nothing else other than this. They're going to go into the season with the same team and say it was John Farrell's fault. We all know John Farrell sucks, but if that's the case here, we're in for not a rough season because they're going to compete, but man, it's a tough one. I like Mitch Moreland for what he does. He's cheap. Obviously I watched almost all the Red Sox games, and there were a lot of balls that he hit that were very, very close to going out for homers. And I'm not going to be that guy that said he almost had another 8 home runs, but a lot of balls that he hit to straightaway center that were hit the top of the wall at Fenway Park and didn't go out. So, he could be better than 22 homers. I don't think he's going to be any worse. I think the floor is 22. He could be better than that. I think the one thing that I'll end on this is we not signing Eric Hosmer, and that's the only reason why I'm very excited about them bringing back Mitch Moreland, other than the fact that he's cheap. They're not signing Eric Hosmer.
Oh, and this means that you're signing JD Martinez, right? It's like $1 billion.
Again, the JD Martinez thing, and our interview guy with our interview with Hubs coming up, he kind of trashed it a little bit. Say, you're insane if you don't think they can give him 8 years. who else is going to sign JD Martinez? Now that you got Longoria, you're probably not in on him. The Diamondbacks, the Diamondbacks, are they a realistic spot? So Scott Boras is going to have to sit there until March with JD Martinez if he wants to get what JD Martinez is going to get. I don't think he can get more than 5 and 110. Like, I really think that could be what he gets because there's nobody in on him. But it would be so Red Sox if we ended up bidding against ourselves and gave him 7 for 160.
Here's a side note for JD Martinez. With the big markets and everyone's saving money for next year, what's stopping him from going like 1 year, $20 million with the D-backs just to go back for a year and then testing it? He won't get the big bucks Harper does, but whoever loses out on Harper, he could flourish there.
I think he had as good as he possibly could. He had 29 homers in 62 games with the D-backs. So, and he's not getting any younger. I think he has to cash in now. I don't think staying for a year, and he's not old, but he's 30, 31 years old, so you want to cash in now if you possibly can. But I got to do some research on this because I feel like Scott Boras has not done well lately like he has in the past with some of his guys. But I could be wrong because he represents everybody and he's got Harper next year that is going to break the bank. But I feel like he hasn't done great for his guys the last few years.
Maybe we can dig into some of that for the next episode as things are going to slow down here pretty soon. So
yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe that can be something we talk about.
Definitely.
All right, last one here. Giants signed Nick Hundley, backup catcher. I mean, decent deal for him, I guess, to back up Posey a little bit.
I love it. A year at $2.5 million for a veteran catcher who, great for the community if you want to buy into that stuff. He does the perfect job behind the dish in the backup role. Nothing we could ask for, nothing less, nothing more. Simple as that.
Yep, agreed.
All right, that takes us to our interview this week with Eric Hubbs. You can find him on Twitter at Barstool Hubbs. He writes for Barstool, obviously, and he covers the New York Yankees. So a lot of good stuff here because they have had one of the bigger off seasons, obviously. So go check that out, and we'll be right back. All right, again, thanks to Eric for joining us. Again, find him on Twitter at Barstool Hubbs. Mo, any takeaways from our Yankees interview?
Yeah, I'm sad. I'm sad about what they're doing. It really hurts me. But great interview with Hubbs, Electric Factory. I'm sure. What's that?
Electric was an understatement.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah, Electric Factory, that guy. So that was a great interview with him. Really knowledgeable Yankees fan. And obviously with the Barstool factor, it's funny guy. So I'm sure we'll get him on to talk about the Yankees, when they do win the division by 12 games, like he said.
Yeah, we'll have him on the World Series preview.
Shut up.
It affects me because I'll be the Dodgers. Let's talk about some of our season in reviews now. We're going to cover the Yankees as one of the two teams. We covered that pretty in-depth with Hubbs, so we're going to pass on that one. And we'll move on to the Arizona Diamondbacks, finished 93-69. Very nice. Got a wild card spot, won their wild card game against the Rockies, then got swept by the Dodgers. Goldschmidt, MVP caliber season, did not get it. Do you think Goldie should have got it over Stanton?
I mean, you can make a case. I always thought that Votto was the guy, and if the Reds had been better, then they would have been fine. But, hey, I mean, he had a rough power season the year before. He got that power back. He still stole some bases, almost 300 average with a 400 OBP. I mean, the guy's a machine. He signed, I think for another 2 years, and he'll be like 33. So I wonder if he'll get a deal done pretty soon with the Diamondbacks to be their cornerstone for years to come, or does he wait for that free agent season to go get some sort of money? But at that age, it's tough for a guy like that. But heck of a season. I don't think he should have won. Unfortunately, that race was insane. I mean, it was Giancarlo, obviously. It was Votto. It was Arenado and Blackman. And then even Chris Bryant had a sneaky good year, even though you look at it real quick and it's not comparable to the rest of them. But deep MVP race there.
Yeah, it was probably one of the better depth MVP races we've seen in a long, long time. So that was pretty great to see there. JD Martinez, we talked about him a second ago, came over, played 62 games, and couldn't have asked for a better 62 games. Do you think they even make the playoffs without JD?
That's an interesting question, Bubba. I mean, that's why you're here. So this is good. I still think they do, because they would have made some sort of move and they may not have gotten the return in terms of the ability and what he gave them. But I still think they would have made the playoffs there. I mean, 29 homers, 62 games, even in that ballpark is insane. I mean, I don't really care what you say about that place. I mean, obviously it's Coors Light down there in Arizona, but that is an insane 62 games. And, he knocked it out of the park literally for his contract year. And like I said, I still think it's a little shaky, but yeah, for at least in terms of talking about Arizona last year, insane.
Yeah, one of the surprising factors with the D-backs is we always knew they had pretty decent offense, but their pitching came through. We were worried about Zach Greinke going into the season. He pitched very, very well. Robbie Ray was outstanding. Corbin was decent. Zach Godley was decent. Taijuan Walker, in between injuries, was decent. What's your overall take on this pitching staff, and is it enough to keep it going in 18?
Yeah, and I think number one, the trade for Segura for Walker, I thought was a success because he pitched really well. No, Segura
seemed to work good for both sides.
It did work good for both sides, yeah. And Owings finally had kind of a coming out year. Then he got hurt, and then God, I already forget his name.
Henniger.
Marte came in and was okay. And I know there was an article about him. I believe it was on Fangraphs about how he's going to be a deep, deep sleeper, and a lot of people like him. So that's something to watch out for too. But I like this rotation a lot, 1 to 5. I mean, they don't like Taijuan Walker might be their 5th, or Corbin, and they may be a 3 or a 4 on different teams. So that's unbelievable what my guy Mike Hazen from town over from me, from my hometown, but he did a great job, brought over all the Red Sox guys, and they really did an unbelievable job with this team, but especially this rotation. It was amazing.
All right, so they get into the wild card, win the wild card game. Now you look at their starting lineup right now, unless they obviously, I'm assuming they'll make a few moves, but you got Peralta, Pollock, Goldie, Lamb. Okay. Then you got Yasmani Tomas, Ketel Marte, who I'm a big fan of. I've been a fan of him for a long time. I think he shouldn't be batting 6th, but that's another story. Chris Owings, Jeff Mathis, not the best, 5 through 8. Is this team built to keep going, or do they really need to do some more?
Yeah, they've been in talks to trade one of the starters. I think Corbin was the main guy. So you wonder whether they make that deal for a bat. And I know there were rumors of trading Greinke to fit for JD Martinez. But in the NL, I mean, it is, sure, it's not great, but I mean, that'd be fine. I mean, think of what the Giants have done for years. I mean, that offense was built behind Posey. But other than that, I mean, there wasn't much there either. So they're obviously not better than the Dodgers. They're probably on par with the Giants, and then they're better than the Rockies. So they're still in that wild card chase, but the Cardinals got better. The Brewers will be there. So they'll still be in with that starting rotation. Archie Bradley in the bullpen, a couple of the bullpen guys did well. They'll still be in that question for the wild card. They're not winning that division, but they also don't have the financial ability to pay a top-end guy like a JD Martinez unless he gets that 5-110 that I say, and maybe they do have that financial ability. But for them to have the rumor to trade Greinke to sign him doesn't seem like they're going to make a huge splash.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing. I know we talked about it last year, is the fact that they're mentioning trading Greinke right now. You mentioned the Corbin part. It's got to make you start to think, Pollock is up for grabs, and I would never be shocked with Goldie only having a short time left on his contract. They don't have the money. They don't have the prospects. It's almost time, if you can't put it all together come deadline this year, this could be blow it up rebuild mode, because if you looked on roster resources, they have the top prospects on the team. They have nobody in the top 100 on baseball prospectus, nobody in the MLB top 100. number 88 in Baseball America, Anthony Banda. That's all they have in the top 100.
Mm.
So their program's even worse than the Giants. That says a lot.
Yeah, that's
so
tough.
They're going to have to really, really look in the mirror and evaluate where they're going with this team, because they are a very talented, fun ball club to watch. We fell in love with the D-backs last year, and this is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Well, they claimed Henry Owens off waivers from the Red Sox, so they should be getting there. So have fun with that guy.
That's the answer. Couple questions for you here. I was thinking about while we were recording. We can try to play prediction game real quick. So with Carlos Santana signing where he signed, Mitchie Tubak signing where he signed, the market for Hosmer is drying up rapidly. San Diego, Kansas City, or other?
I still think Kansas City. I don't know why San Diego would sign him. That doesn't make any sense to me, because Will Myers ain't getting any younger. Why would they send him back to the outfield?
I 100% agree. I think I said it a couple weeks ago. I think he's going back to Kansas City. Someone said it best in an article I read. He could be the next George Brett for the Royals. Lifelong Royals. He's perfect for that area. I can see it perfectly there. And last but not least, with Longo going to the Giants and the Angels getting Cozart, what's the status for Moose?
It's a tough one. I mean, I just don't – it seems everyone's saving their money for the next offseason. That's really what they're doing. Yeah, you thought the Angels would be a perfect spot for him. Maybe the Braves come in out of nowhere and say, we can get him cheaper than we thought, and he'll go down to Atlanta. Could go back to Kansas City. It's this whole class has been they were hijacked by Giancarlo, or let's call it Derek Jeter, and Ohtani, and then they were hijacked again by Machado and Peter Angelos and that clown show over there in Baltimore. So now they're waiting for that situation to figure itself out. Not a good year to be a free agent. Not a good year at all.
Yep, but we'll end it at that, as we will have more to talk about as the weeks go on. Hope everybody has a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whichever you celebrate. Enjoy the holiday season. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Hubs. That was a lot of fun. Electric Factory 101. But check out the pod at Around Bases Pod. Mo is at Boston_Mo. I am at BD Intric. Episode 43 in the books. We'll catch you guys later.
See you.